Hi everyone, it's Stu here from 3B. Yesterday Sony announced the release date for the PlayStation 5, which will be in the holidays of 2020, which to those of us the opposite side of the pond in Europe and in the UK, that essentially means Christmas. So that to me would suggest that we're likely to see the actual release date around about October or November, which will give plenty of time for parents to put it under the tree, or adults like me to get it in our grubby mitts and play the hell out of it all over winter and autumn. So one of the key things they did announce is not only the release date, which is fabulous, but not unexpected. We kind of knew that it would be likely to be Christmas next year. What they did announce are changes to the upcoming new controller for the PlayStation 5, whether it's going to be called the Dualshock 5. I would imagine that they would continue with that naming format. So one of the key things they did, well, there's two sort of fundamental changes they're going to make. Instead of the rumble that we have on the current controller, they're going to sort of add a new generation. They're calling it the 5th generation of sort of feedback. So you get more of a feel of tension. So, for instance, they gave the example of if you're drawing a bow, you will feel that tension build up. Now, to me, there's only so much that you can do with tiny little motors and sort of haptic feedback. And you know, even with the rumble that we get, and the on the Xbox One controller, the new one, or the current one, you know, when you're sort of pulling on each particular shoulder button or trigger, you know, there's some feedback there. And apparently Xbox or Microsoft have announced the plans for put in a trademark or something or plans for their controller too, to have a very similar thing to what Sony's announcing. So the controllers are likely to be very similar in terms of their sort of force feedback and how they're going to work with the triggering buttons and so on. But to me, that's not a huge thing. I'm not particularly excited by that. I'm curious to see whether they're going to maintain or keep this touch interface, which I think is possibly the worst thing on the current generation of PlayStation controllers. Really don't like it. It's fiddly. It rarely works how you expect it to. You know, you end up swiping and it sort of takes you out of that control environment when you have the controller like this. And then you're swiping left and right. It just, for me, just doesn't work particularly well. So I'm just curious to see as to whether they'll actually keep this or maybe have an OLED panel or something. I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of update it on that regard and have a panel there that's an additional sort of a visual interface rather than a touch one. That'd be cool. I do also hope they increase the size of it to make it more suitable for Western hands, because I've always found the DualShock controllers to be pretty uncomfortable compared to, say, the Xbox controllers. I always find that I get sore from these edges. It's just too small for Western hands still. So I hope they make some sort of physical changes in terms of dimensions and how it feels in Western hands. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. It's exciting because it also signals the fact that we're going to see more and more information come trickling out of Sony, which will then force Microsoft to do much the same, and they'll start to push more information about their console too. So we're starting to get this flow, and it starts to build up that anticipation and excitement, which I think is great. You know, I'm really looking forward to next year. As to when I believe that we're going to get an announcement, you know, in terms of a reveal of the PlayStation Pro and Xbox Scarlet, I imagine, for me, I have a feeling it's going to be earlier, no later than early spring next year. It would be really cool if they sort of announced it at something like CES, but that's unlikely, I think. Sony may very likely, given that they dropped E3 this year, whether they would do it at E3 or just simply have their own reveal in their own event. I think that's starting to happen more and more, with companies just having their own events rather than sort of latching on to sort of things like E3. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. What are you looking forward to? What do you want to see changed with the current from the current controller from the PlayStation Dualshock to the new one? What do you want? What changes do you want or would like to see? What are you most anticipating with the PlayStation 5? And when do you think it will be revealed? Put your comments below. It'd be lovely to hear from you. Don't forget to click the bell, because you won't hear about any when I've done new videos. Give me a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe. Always cool. Thanks again. Have a lovely day. And I'll speak to you very soon. Take care.